It
is.
You can bicker over your
It is.
later.
Right.
It is. And like you said, we don't have to do anything in this plan. I'm just presenting you with options according to my expertise to let you know what I think you should do. If you want to have great deer hunting and a really good piece of land with timber for the future and aesthetics and all the stuff that you want. Okay. And that's what this plan is about. The Golden Winged Warbler Plan jives fairly well with my plan. I hadn't read this before, I hadn't seen it, but it's pretty much one of my units coincides with their unit, and my recommendations coincide with their recommendations, and I guess, you know, there's a little bit of a monkey wrench there with the planting, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Who here has read the plan?
21 pages.
You got the 21-page version.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fluff in here, because I have to make it.
I understand now. The 21 pages was
A lot of the stuff in the back,
I
you'll
looked at
find
the
that,
soils and all kinds of good stuff.
yeah, you know, there's a lot of good reference material in here that makes good bathroom reading and,
Steve, what I had supplied was that map,
yeah.
and then your recommendations and discussion of each of the stands on that
You
map.
have all the stand level information.
Yes.
Which is the extracted first handout that we passed
So
out.
what do we want to cover today? The whole thing, or the stuff that we want to try and get done within a year?
Can we cover the whole thing? How long does it take? I
Should
mean,
we
we
try
don't
to go to
take
the
too long.
expectation of the meeting, which is
Well, there's gonna be, your eyes are gonna glaze over, because I'm gonna go into a bunch of technical stuff. I could gloss over some of the stuff and give you the broad strokes of it, and then go into details later.
Why don't you just
So
go
why
over
don't
the
we do
stands, why
that?
don't you just go over the stands and what you're gonna do?
Yeah, let's do that.
And if you could just, I'll tell you, if you're gonna focus on anything, Steve, we need to focus on stand 5, because that we have to make a decision on today.
Right.
Okay, and then, and I know that was, you had 2 number 1 priorities in the plan. One of them was that particular area, and which is for you guys, the head of Dry Run, where we had a bunch of that clear cutting done. And then also what you have marked as stand 1, which is the one on top of Jack's Mountain. You had that listed as a priority number 1.
Yeah, high priority is 5 and 1.
Right.
Okay.
And then if you want to just briefly
Yeah,
on the other one.
let's start with 5 and 1 then. So starting with stand 1, it's the upper slope. In other words, most of the flat and then down over to that skid trail that runs down. There's a little bit of a skid trail here. And there's a bench right here, so I ended my stand there. It's somewhat arbitrary, so that can be changed one way or the other. The point is that whole area is a stand, because the definition of a stand is that it would be treated the same. It has the same timber characteristics, soil characteristics, etc. And then stand 5 is pretty much laid out not by growth, but by an area that's feasible to try and do something there, because of the terrain is not quite as severe as over here. And I don't know if you have the topo. Did you put the topo map in there with?
Just that map.
Just this one. Well, anyway, this is operable slopes in here, where over here it's really not. That's why in a lot of areas they didn't take the timber, because it just was inoperable, and they had to just work skid trails in to get any timber out. But this area is a place where you can walk, you can run equipment, we can cut, spray, do all the things that we want to do there. Also, in the Golden Winged Warbler Plan that Nate wrote, Nate wrote that, right? So we have superimposed on my stand, which is here, all right, Nate's stand went like this. So anything in the red stripes there is what Nate had laid out for the Golden Winged Warbler Plan.
Which is the 30 acres, the more square
That's
one?
this one,
That's the one with cross hatch.
and then my stand is 53 acres.
53.
But if you can see that the shape of this, if you were to take these lines and expand them out, be about the same lineal distance. So, in speaking with the government fellows, they're okay with expanding that project out to my stand, okay? So the Golden Winged Warbler project would be all of stand 5, 53 acres. Okay? Now, what they're looking for with Golden Winged Warbler is a severe cut, which you already have, but they would also want to cut these down to 20 basal area. Basal area is if you take every tree at chest height like this, measure that surface area in an acre of every tree, that's how many square feet you have. And the use of that is to measure growing space. So you're at 111 basal area in stand 1. It's a tad low. You want to see like up around 150, usually in a well-stocked stand. So you can imagine that 20 is light, it's like, almost like a clear cut. And what they want to leave is big oak trees, because that's where this bird wants to feed during the day, and then it nests on the ground next to some sort of woody stem. So that's why they need large trees scattered around and small brush and thickets underneath. So you get that by regenerating forests, which is good for all wildlife, okay? So the bird is actually just a keystone species, right? So you manage for the habitat of the Golden Winged Warbler, which is a threatened species, but as you create habitat for that, you also create habitat for a lot of other wildlife. Does that make sense? All right, so going over to stand 1, there's 69 acres there. And there's 7,700 feet, lineal feet around it. There's poor understory, kind of crappy timber in there. I only came up with 3,500 board feet per acre of acceptable growing stock, what I consider to be growing stock that is going to either grow into really nice timber in the future or is good timber now. Okay. Most of the red maple, except for the really nice stems of red maple, is unacceptable growing stock because it just doesn't grow into a valuable tree for either wildlife or timber. It's a small saw timber stand at an average DBH, which is diameter per site, of 13 inches. And of course we have some 18, 20-inch trees in there, but the average is 13. So it's 170 or so trees per acre. I said before it's over 111 basal area. And the relative density, which is an estimate of if you didn't do anything to a stand and it's this age, what would be the density of the trees growing on that site? And the relative density is 74. So it's 74% of what you would expect if you had never done anything in there. Okay? And I have 40 relative density, 40% of acceptable growing stock. Now, if we took our timber stocking down to the 40 and left nothing but the best trees for seed and future timber, you could double the growth of those good trees right away over the next 10 years And you can also start to regenerate new trees on the ground, which right now, we have striped maple, fern, some invasives, invasives haven't gotten real bad up there quite yet, but it seems like the birds are bringing some barberry from down in the valley up in there. So we have to keep an eye on that. Striped maple doesn't do you any good. Okay? It can really take over a place, and deer don't eat it. They don't eat the seeds, nothing really wants it, and it shades out everything because the leaves are real big. Okay? So that's basically it. I mean, my recommendation, if you look at that bird's eye view picture and the side picture, that's like a cartoon image of what the stand would look like from the air after you do this type of harvest. So the way to, if you go to page 3 of your stand level information, right there. There you go. So that's kind of gives you the idea of what you're looking for. You want to see if you can get a variety of species, a variety of patchworks in there, and uneven age growth, so that you always have an understory, a mid-story, and an overstory. Just keep going back.
Steve, are these stands listed in order of your projected priority?
I started with that stand, it was nice September, that's where I started.
So, and your schedule,
But it is, that's my top priority.
but your timeline too, if we do the warbler thing first, this could easily be done a year or two from now.
Well, let me get in. What